Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Power Vacuum. I'm Belmont, and I've got a very interesting story for you today. Has anybody seen this? Apparently, GameStop pivots to retro gaming at select locations. I found this little story pretty hilarious, mostly because it's been less than a decade since GameStop said that they were going to stop selling retro games in stores. I think it was about 2015 when they officially made the announcement. I started noticing it beforehand, like stuff just started disappearing from the shelves slowly. Like there were no classic NES games or Sega games one day. It was like 64 and forward, like very handful of Super Nintendo games. And then eventually it was just the only retro stuff they had was what was it, Nintendo DS game cartridges and a very limited selection of Game Boy Advanced. And I mean very limited. I'm talking like Pokemon games and select Mario games, Advanced Wars, things that sold for high dollar amounts were the only things that they had sitting on their it wasn't even a shelf. It was like a side cap thing. It was a small little fixture that had everything packed into it. And I asked the manager about it at the time. I was like, hey, I've noticed you guys have been eliminating your retro game stuff. What's going on? And he said, well, GameStop's moving away from that. We're going to be like next-gen console and PC stuff only. But you can still purchase retro game stuff online, which was true. You'd go online. You'd find a site for it. But for the most part, for the past several years, it seems like everything on their sites that's of value or worth getting has been sold out. And GameStop was like, retro gaming's not in fashion anymore. People don't really care about it. Which seemed almost true up until the moment Nintendo was like, hey, we're releasing the mini Nintendo console that has like 50 classic NES games. And they sold out in like an hour. Which proved that there was a demand for retro games, just GameStop wasn't doing it right. Or perhaps it was Nintendo knowing their audience and nostalgia baiting them into buying this mini console thing. Either way, it seemed like, people do like retro games. You can give retro games to almost anyone. They'll play them. Kids will still play them to this day. They might trash talk them, but then, you come back a couple hours later and your child's playing Joust. And you're like, well, I thought you were trash talking this game. You're playing Joust now, and they're like, oh, well, it's kind of fun. It's like, yeah, games were fun because they had to be. You had to have a fun game to be good back in the day. But let's check out this story. This is from Engadget.com, which I'm not very familiar with this site, but I guess it's powered by Medium, maybe? No, I don't know. It's an ad for Medium. But yeah, GameStop Retro. GameStop is pivoting to retro games at select locations. As the industry moves to digital media and the retailer struggles to adapt to the shifting landscape, including short-lived stab at NFTs. NFTs. The company is betting on the old school. The GameStop Retro locations will stock physical consoles, discs, and cartridges from classic Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, and Sega platforms. The retailer announced the retro GameStop locations in a post on X. The company also has a website where you can search for retro-friendly locations within a 100-mile radius. GameStop lists 18 classic systems supported by its retro stores, stretching back to the 8-bit glory days of the NES. Here's the complete list. And I'm not going to read this all. You can just take a look at it. If you are listening, it goes back to NES and goes forward as far as the PS Vita and the Wii U. So basically 85 to 2012 is the span, and it's most Sega, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo, just like they said earlier. You'll notice the PSP isn't among the systems listed. I did not notice that because the PSP is not a great system. Engadget emailed GameStop to try to confirm it's omitted and learned more about the initiative. To confirm why it's omitted? Perhaps that's what they meant. We'll update the story if we hear back. No, I can tell you why it's omitted. The PSP was not a good system. It's got one game that people talk about, and I might even be getting this wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the Mash X Final Fantasy game. It's the one where you play. I can't even remember his name. It's the guy who Cloud thinks he is in Final Fantasy VII. Oh, it's been so long. Zack. You play as Zack. I think I'm getting that right. I could be way wrong. I'm probably way wrong. If not, I'm just gonna keep calling him Zack. But yeah, you play as Zack. It's Final Fantasy Crisis something. Shit, I can't remember. Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII. Effectively, the entire game was just mashing X. If you've ever played it, it's very short, mediocre story, mediocre graphics. Pretty much the entire catalog of the PSP. But yeah, that's the whole story. It looks like, yeah, this clips into cameras and advertisements, whatnot. But yeah, I just found this very, very interesting because 2015 they announced that they were going to stop doing this, and here it is, less than 10 years later, and retro games are back. Which is funny because the retro game store in my town is like popping. Like every time I go in there, it's packed. Now they also sell Magic cards and whatever that Disney crap is. I don't even know the name of it. Disney has its own card game now. There's always like 2 or 3 girls in there playing that, and I was like, oh, they got their market and they're dumping money in it, and there's always like 4 or 5 Magic players, but there's always a good crowd of people in there buying retro games, buying retro systems. I think when I talked to the guys, they said the PS3 is currently like their best seller, which will probably carry over in GameStop. And, you know, I understand it. The PS3 was a cool system. I still think the PlayStation 2 was the best era of PlayStation. But I'm very biased because I think Shadow of the Colossus is one of the best games ever made. And that was a PS2 era juggernaut. I mean, that game was so good, they remade it for the PlayStation 3 and remade it for the PlayStation 4. And I don't have a PlayStation 5 anymore, but I was waiting for them to remake it. And like a fool, I probably would have bought it because I just, you know, own more copies of that. No, I own more copies of Arkham Asylum than anything, but that's because I was collecting every edition for a while, and I was a lunatic. Don't ask. Don't do that. No. Do whatever you want. You want to collect a single copy of a game and own every version of it? Go for it. Hey, we live in that world. But retro games are going to make a comeback. They never really went anywhere. As GameStop is learning, I guarantee they probably just had a warehouse full of this crap sitting around, and hey, maybe I'll get lucky and I'll finally be able to get a boxed copy of Earthbound, because I don't feel like paying the prices that people on eBay are paying. And with a GameStop sale, well, I guess GameStop might be more. I don't know. You got to find that at a yard sale if you want to get a good deal. And never trust anybody that says they have a sealed copy of Earthbound, by the way. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there are no sealed copies of Earthbound. Chances are, if it's a sealed copy, Earthbound's not in it. It came in like a big oversized box, and they were never sealed. They came as is out of the packing boxes. But that's all I've got for this video. GameStop Retro. See if there's one near you. Check it out. Let me know if you have one. There's none near me right now. I'm gonna go check out this website and see if there are any near my location, and if there are, I'll give you guys an update on what it was like being in one. Otherwise, Belmont out.